Trump is just turning the world upside down. We got a lot to cover. My name is Brian. This is the Brian Craig Show podcast, which is brought to you by Tom Laporta at Laporta Contracting and Roofing. Tom Laporta is a good MAGA guy. He'll never sell you a roof you do not need. And if you're in the state of Florida, he covers the entire state. Residential, commercial, even municipal. Check him out online at LaportaRoofing.com. Okay. On the morning show this morning, I was playing all these clips from ABC News. I'm just going to play one because I have the breakdown and the story on it to give more detail on what the president's talking about. This ABC News interview that Trump did was just spectacular. If you missed my program this morning, you should go back and watch it. It was, I went through the highlights of that interview. It was amazing. But there was one of the problems this ABC News reporter Terry Moron had is, he had all these liberal talking points. He had every liberal talking point of the last 100 days, and Trump took him down on every one. And this one in particular has caused a lot of controversy today. It's about the MS-13 tattoo on the fake Maryland man, the MS-13 terrorist, the one whose wife says that he beat her up like multiple times, bloody with his fist, closed fist. The tattoo on his fingers, the MS-13 tattoo. This is the ABC News reporter and President Trump. And then after I play this, I'm going to break down what President Trump's talking about.
He wasn't a member of a gang. And then they looked, and on his knuckles, he had MS-13.
There's a dispute.
Well, wait a minute. He had MS-13 on his knuckles.
That's right.
He had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
Wait a minute. Hey, Terry.
He did not have the letter MS-13.
It says MS-13.
That was Photoshop.
That was Photoshop. Terry, you can't do that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay. I picked you, Terry, but you're not being very nice. He had MS-13 tattooed.
We'll agree to disagree. I want to move on to something else.
Terry, do you want me to show you the picture?
I saw the picture.
And you think it was Photoshop? Well,
here we go.
Don't Photoshop it. Go look at his hand. He had MS-13.
He did have tattoos that can be interpreted that way. I'm not an expert on them. I want to turn to Ukraine, sir.
Terry,
I want to get to Ukraine.
No.
Oh, boy.
No. He had MS as clear as you can be, not interpreted. This is why people no longer believe the news, because
when
it's fake news.
When he was photographed in El Salvador, they aren't there. But let's just go on. They aren't there when he's in El Salvador.
They weren't there, but they're there now, right?
No, but they're in your picture.
Terry.
Ukraine, sir.
He's got MS-13 on his knuckles.
All right.
Okay?
We'll take a look.
You do such a disservice.
We'll take a look at that,
Why don't
sir.
you just say, yes, he does, and, go on to something else?
It's contested.
It's contested. Yeah, well, it's not up to the media to be contesting things, okay? And you hear how he's so condescending at the end, and he's talking to President Trump like he's some old man who doesn't understand and he knows better. Well, it says MS-13 in code on his fingers. And by the way, I tweet all of this. Anything you hear me talk about, if it's a story or something I'm referencing, everything is on my X, Brian Craig Show on X. I put everything up there, and it goes back many years, okay? I put all the stories up there, and I leave them there. People, cite the source. I don't have all this, everything in files that I can just pull it. You go to my X, Brian Craig Show, and everything's there. So it's MS-13 in code, and it's in Spanish, okay? And I have this breakdown of it, and this is amazing. Now, my Spanish is it's the worst, okay? I'm not very good with the Spanish, but the M, okay, he's got these symbols, right? One finger, he has a marijuana leaf. Another one, he's got a smiley face. Then he's got a cross. Another finger, he's got a skull, okay? And that is code in Spanish. Listen to this. Now, marijuana, of course, even in Spanish, starts with M. That's on the first finger. That's the M in MS-13. Smiley face is, it's not smiley face in Spanish. It's sonrisa. And it starts with an S. So that's the S. The marijuana leaf is the M. The smiley face is the S for MS-13. The third finger is the cross. Now, it says here, the cross symbol is often used as a pictogram to represent the number 1, symbolizing unity, singularity, or just the number 1. So that's the 1 in MS-13. The final figure is, or the image is a skull. And in Spanish, skull, and I know I'm mispronouncing this, is calavera. Calavera. C is the third letter of the alphabet. That's your MS-13. That is, without question, a confession. It's just a confession. That's it. And, at first, the left, the fake news media, the liberals, the never-Trumpers, all these people, they got involved in defending this guy without vetting him. They didn't know how much baggage this guy has, beating up the wife a whole bunch of times, MS-13, human trafficking. There's something new that about the kid. It's everything is that this guy's bad, but they didn't know that. All they know is they hate Trump. They have Trump derangement syndrome. And because of that, they immediately started defending this guy as soon as it became publicly known he was deported down there because they wanted to stop the deportations, and they picked the wrong guy to circle the wagons around. And now they're so deep into it that, they can't admit they were wrong. They can't walk it back. And they're just quadrupling down and making it worse for themselves. Now, I'm not going to go any more into that interview because I did pretty much the whole show this morning for 3 hours about that interview. I thought it was such an important interview. I usually wouldn't spend so much time on one thing. I didn't even get to the rally in Michigan, which I will later on in the podcast here. But that interview, you really need to watch its entirety. It was beautiful. Listen to my show this morning on that as I break down all the highlights. Now, another thing, these corrupt judges, like that one in Wisconsin that got arrested last week, they're just in love with the illegals and these foreign students with these foreign student visas that are over here working for Iran, organizing hate groups and defending the terrorist group Hamas and others. And this one student that was about to be deported, it's been stopped by one of these judges. Palestinian Columbia University student Mohsen Madawi is freed from ICE custody on judge's orders. This is just nuts. The Palestinian Columbia University student who was arrested by ICE after leading this is in the New York Post, by the way, after leading anti-Israel protest on campus, was set free on Wednesday by a judge who says he wasn't a risk to the public. He's advocating for a terrorist organization, Hamas, and he's organizing a hate organization and hate movement against Jews. Now, it's a threat to the public, especially if you're a Jew who's a student at Columbia. Mohsen Madawi was released from custody following an order from U.S. District Judge Jeffrey Crawford, with a defiant protester sending a message to President Trump and his administration immediately after the release. The judge said they did not believe he posed any risk to the public, nor was he a flight risk. And he walked out wearing like the Yasser Arafat scarf, one that looks like a picnic blanket. He's a legal permanent resident, but not a citizen, and has been for 10 years. He was arrested April 14th during an interview about finalizing his U.S. citizenship. Remember, he's the one that went to do his citizenship, and ICE arrested him there. I am saying it clear and loud, President Trump and his cabinet, I'm not afraid of you, he said outside of the courtroom. The government argued that his detention was a constitutionally valid aspect of the deportation process. The State Department insisted the West Bank-born man is removable under the Immigration and Nationality Act. See, here's the thing, okay? People talk about First Amendment. And Candace Owens hates Israel, hates Jews. She's anti-Semitic. So she thinks this is a free speech issue. This is not a free speech issue. Okay. The First Amendment does not guarantee that you can speak about and say whatever you want, whenever you want to say it. I don't know why people think that. There are restrictions. And the main restriction is you do not have the First Amendment right to incite violence against others. You know, that fire in a crowded theater analogy that's misused and overused, right? You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. Well, that's not true. You can. However, if there is no fire and you cause a panic by yelling it, and people get stomped to death and killed, then you're going to face some legal charges. Okay? You don't have the right to incite violence against others. And if you're out there advocating and organizing for a terrorist group, in this instance, Hamas, you are inciting violence against others in this country and abroad. It's not a free speech issue. And I know so many people think that it is. It is not. And don't let people make you think that it is. You know, I keep hearing Candace Owens and others say, "Oh, these their free speech rights, are being violated and everything." Their free speech rights are not being violated. This idea that you have this 100% right to say whatever you want to say is not true. If think about it, if I was advocating for ISIS or Al Qaeda as an example, on my programs, do you think I'd be able to get away with that? No. They'd come after me because you can't advocate for a terrorist organization. And Hamas is a terrorist organization. Now, I know that a lot of liberals like Hamas, right? They like Hamas because they hate Jews. I get that. But no, you cannot advocate for a terrorist organization. That is the way it is. So these deportations of these students and this permanent resident from Colombia, that is exactly what should be happening.
All Americans can apply.
I hate when you play a commercial, don't you? When I go to play a video online, and these Israeli haters, it's amazing who some of them are. Nancy Mace was walking down the street in D.C., and one of these pink ladies comes up to her and confronts her, and involves Gaza, Hamas, and Israel. Listen.
Hello, Congresswoman. What do you have to say today about the starvation of children in Gaza?
Oh, my goodness.
Jew, right? Is that what you are?
I was
asking.
Hate Jews? I am a Jew, so I'm certainly
you hate Jews. You love Hamas.
Well, I asked you what you think about the starvation.
You guys are
of
domestic
children.
terrorists.
That's right.
Support domestic terrorism.
That's also silly, but on a more serious note, do you have concern about the starvation in Gaza? I know you love Jews. We all love Jews. What about the children who are starving because Israel has not let in food for the last 2 months?
What about all the Jews that have been murdered by Hamas and civilians in Gaza? You guys are disgusting.
You're okay with the collective punishment of 2 million people?
I support the Jews all around the world, even you. Your self-loathing Jewishness.
So you support me?
Your freedom of speech, yes, I do.
Okay, good. Well, do you support children?
Oh, my goodness.
Do you think children should be starved and kept away from medicines?
You're really fast on your feet. I'm surprised at how fast you're going. Do you got sneakers on?
I do.
You're doing pretty good.
I do, but I am worried about your soul and your heart, that you don't seem to be caring about children.
Love the pink ladies. You look good.
Yeah, these, it's not new for liberals to be supporting bad people, okay? And they always have, they always will. But now for the very first time with President Trump, we have someone in the White House who's standing up against these lunatics, which is very unusual. And these deportations, it's very unusual to have somebody do that. These deportations are the 100% right thing to do. And that's a sad thing. You're not a Jewish lady who's supporting the people that want her dead. It's like, the pink lady there, it's like Jews for Hitler. It's so insane. And, when Michael Savage says that liberalism is a mental disorder, it is. They're totally whacked out. Their viewpoint and outlook on the world is completely upside down, inside out, and backwards. Why would a Jewish woman be out publicly demonstrating in favor of those who want to wipe out the Jews, who want to finish the Holocaust? There's not even a sane, logical explanation to that. But you see what the liberals are doing. They're supporting these terrorists. These terrorist organizing students. They're supporting this wife beater from MS-13 in El Salvador that they're trying to bring back to Maryland and put him into the house with the woman that he beat up a bunch of times with a closed fist, bloody. They are on the wrong side of every issue, but it's not new. They've always been on the wrong side of the issues. They're just a little more vocal about being on the wrong side of the issues than they used to be. Now, I want to tell you guys, if you haven't done your Mother's Day shopping yet, or maybe you've already started, go to MyPillow.com. There's great gifts at MyPillow.com for mom. And with my promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, you can just get huge savings. Now, you can use my promo code Kane on all the specials at MyPillow.com, okay? Great, not just the ones I talk about, but a great gift for mom on Mother's Day are the MyPillow slippers. There's many different styles, many different colors. They're $90 off with my promo code Kane at checkout, just $59.98. The normal price is $149.98, so $90 off. Mom would love them, and they come in all sizes. They even have pink for the ladies. They have the moccasins, the slip-ons. They're great. They're comfortable. I have these. Steve Kane has them. Your mom, and even you, maybe you want to buy a pair for yourself, will love the My Pillow, My Slippers. Mike Lindell was at the rally last night in Michigan with the president. President Trump called him out a few times, and I learned something I did not know. Mike Lindell got married, and I was looking online. I couldn't find any details about it. I saw one reference that said he got married last year, and I've not been able to find out who she is or what she looks like or anything. I wonder how many people were Googling to try to find out what Mike Lindell's wife looked like and who she is. She has no footprint online. But go to MyPillow.com, use my promo code Kane at checkout, Kane for huge savings. And remember, when you use my promo code Kane at checkout, you're not just supporting Mike Lindell and My Pillow. You're supporting all of my content, my podcast, the radio show, my YouTube channel, and you're letting Mike Lindell know that the sponsorship that he's given to me and all my content is paying off for him when you use my promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. My name's Brian. We're going to take our first break and be right back. Don't go anywhere. What do a best-selling author, an A-list screenwriter, and an Emmy-nominated Hollywood producer have in common? They've all shared their stories on the Story Series podcast with host Brandon Violette. Brandon is a successful screenwriter, and on the Story Series podcast, he uncovers the stories behind the people, how they found their success, what they risked, and the moments that changed everything. Each week, Brandon interviews creatives, and these conversations are real, inspiring, and often unexpected. Brandon is a talented interviewer who brings out the truth, the heart, and the hustle in each and every episode. So if you're curious about what it really takes to make it, add the Story Series podcast to your podcast playlist right now on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and on all podcast platforms. The Story Series podcast with host Brandon Violette, sharing the success behind every story. Are you ready to transform pain into purpose? From author Sammy Dunaway comes your guide to healing what hurts most in the book, Bridge to Redemption, The Power of Forgiveness, available on Amazon. This must-read book combines real-life stories with practical tools like journaling, mindfulness, and empathy building to help you release anger, regret, and bitterness. When you read Bridge to Redemption through the lens of divine grace, you'll learn to forgive others and yourself, mend broken relationships, and find the peace you've been longing for. Whether you're carrying deep wounds or seeking a fresh start, this book is your roadmap to a lighter, freer life. It also makes a great addition to your book club. Discover how forgiveness isn't just a gift for others. It's a lifeline for you, a bridge from pain to peace, from regret to redemption. Bridge to Redemption, The Power of Forgiveness is available now on Amazon. Your journey to healing starts right now. When the lights go out or when the job demands precision, you need gear you can trust. And that's what you will find at LumenXGear.com. LumenXGear.com brings you ultra-bright, rechargeable flashlights and lighting tools that are built like a tank. Whether you're on the job site, in the garage, or deep in the backcountry, LumenXGear.com lights the way. No fluff, no gimmicks, just top-tier gear that works when it matters the most. Are you tired of comparing specs, looking through endless listings, and ending up with something that barely works? At LumenXGear.com, you'll find lighting gear that actually makes sense. From tactical flashlights to headlamps, lanterns, and more, every piece is tested, tough, and ready for anything. And make sure to check out the Ultra Slim Tactical EDC flashlight. It's compact, powerful, made for everyday carry, and weighs only 3.56 ounces. Stop guessing and start seeing. Visit LumenXGear.com right now. That's LumenXGear and grab lighting gear that won't leave you in the dark. That's LumenXGear.com, built to light your way.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. Now, this is a crazy, crazy story. Have you seen this story of this woman who is liberal American, African-American woman, tired of all the racism in America, and she packed up and went to Ghana? Oh, my goodness. It didn't work out for her. And she put a video up online talking about it. And I'm not sure if she's back in the United States or trapped in Ghana. Maybe she'll tell us towards the end of the video. But this is just absolutely amazing to me.
But y'all, I'd rather go back to America and deal with the racism in America before I sit here in Africa and deal with the bullshit bribery, the bullshit fraud, the bullshit scams, the bullshit too expensive, the bullshit not having no snacks, the bullshit not having no food, the bullshit electricity, the bullshit hot water, the bullshit what's that shit called that be coming down?
Boy, she's got a great vocabulary, doesn't she?
Bullshit lizards. The bullshit animals, the scorpions outside the house, it's big ass spiders, it's big ass lizards, colorful lizards you ain't never seen before, all in the fucking room with you, sleeping with you. All the bullshit people trying to scam you when you go outside thinking you rich, so they trying to get more money off of you. I'm really trying to wrap my head around this shit. I'm really trying to wrap my head around how are Americans coming to Africa and being happy. Please comment down below. Because for me, I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
And I always used to say, if it's up to me, it will be. And I'm going to go out to Africa and make shit happen. No, I don't want to. I want to take my businesses back to America. I want to open up shop back in America, open up my dentist office, and all the stuff that I was going to do out here in America. Daddy, electricity.
Her dentist office? She's a dentist? And she speaks like that? Oh, my goodness.
And the only time our electricity get cut off is when we don't pay the bill. And we got it so good now, we got prepaid electricity, so if we forget to pay the bill, we put some money on that prepaid thing and it comes right back on in 2 minutes. In less than 2 minutes. This shit right here didn't come on for 14 hours yesterday.
Oh my goodness.
I can't deal.
No electricity, 14 hours.
Don't get me wrong, when I'm outside, I'm having fun. I love people, but when I come back to reality, when you come back home is where the heart is, right? When you come back home, you're supposed to feel comfortable, you're supposed to be happy. I'm not happy. To live in a house where you look outside and all you see is turkeys and ducks and chickens and sheeps and old malnourished cows.
Wow. So Africa didn't turn out the way she thought. And, you know, some of you listened to me for a long time. We had a guy that used to come on the show all the time. He was with the Nation of Islam, Ronald X. He used to come on the show in studio with Steve Kane and me many, many times over the years. And he always had a dream of going to Africa. And he had gotten a lawsuit settlement from his job. He lived in Miami. And he sold everything he had. And he went to West Africa and bought a chicken farm. And we didn't hear from him for a long time. And then Steve got some calls in the middle of the night. He was calling Steve, trying to borrow money from Steve to get a plane ticket back to Miami. And he had the chicken farm. I don't remember how long he was over there, Ronald X. But he told us, he says, nobody will buy his eggs. He said, it's very tribal. People will only do business with people of their tribe. And since he's an American, he doesn't have a tribe. So he was so broke, he couldn't even buy a plane ticket one way for himself back to the United States. And, you know, people in this country that are liberal have been so brainwashed to think the most terrible things about our great country. This country, the United States, is the only major country that's had an African-American, that's had a black leader. They don't have African-Americans in other countries, just, you know, black people. This is the only major country in the world, the only first world country to have a black leader, Barack Obama. I didn't vote for him either time, but he was elected and reelected. And this country, one of the greatest assets of this country is America's love and Americans' love and acceptance of diversity. And this country is not all these terrible things that leftists have been brainwashed into thinking that it is. And what happens to people oftentimes is they do things like this lady and her husband went to Africa and they found out it just sucks and they're dying to come back to America. There's no country that is so accepting of everyone's differences and skin colors and religions and diversity than the United States. There isn't. And people have just been so brainwashed by the left, the education system, the media, the movies, that there's all these things that exist in this country that just don't. But even though this woman's experiencing how bad it is to leave America for Africa, she's still in that mindset that this is a racist country and all these things. Nothing could be further from the truth. And I hope that video of hers goes viral. I hope a lot of people see that, because I think it sends a very important message. Pete Hegseth, who was in the cabinet meeting today with President Trump. Any of you watched the cabinet meeting? It was spectacular. And, it's a funny thing. I was reading a story this morning. I can't remember where it was. I'm not sure I even posted this on X, but I was reading, I might have. I was reading a story this morning that said that Elon Musk is out. He's not at the White House anymore. He's moved on. They phased him out and all of this. And he was right there at the end of the table during the cabinet meeting, sitting at the table with the cabinet of President Trump's. And he was participating and commenting. He made a joke about his hats. He was, wearing two hats. And now Elon is loved by MAGA. He's loved by the cabinet, and of course loved by the United States. So all those stories that he's out, fake news. And then they're also trying to get this narrative that President Trump is angry at Pete Hegseth and wants Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth out. And he was sitting right there next to President Trump, and they had a great exchange in the cabinet meeting. And, President Trump has sent the military to our southern border to do what the military is supposed to do, protect the United States. And this is Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth at the southern border giving a warning to people that cross it illegally.
Under this administration, we defend our soil. We know who comes in. And if you try to come in illegally as a cartel, or you try to smuggle or traffic, you will be detained by a member of the U.S. military.
That's right.
And you will be handed over to Customs and Border Patrol. And then you will be prosecuted by the Department of Justice, and you will be charged to the maximum extent of the law.
Yeah, I mean, that's his voice a little high there, isn't it, Pete Hegseth? That's really amazing what's going on there with the military. And, it's like President Trump was talking the other day. Biden said he couldn't do anything because they needed legislation. The president, whoever they are, they have all the power to protect our borders. And President Trump has done all of this without any legislation, right? And no one's crossing the border now, like 9 people, right? They're not letting anybody across. It is locked down, as it should be. And I understand why the Democrats have the border open for a lot of reasons, okay? But rank and file regular people that are Democrats, why are you supporting this nonsense? There's no logical explanation for it. But another one of these lunatic, out of control judges that's participating in a lawful, or not a lawful, because it's unlawful, but a law coup is what I call it, a law coup or law insurrection against the presidency. Listen.
Judicial pushback against President Trump's immigration crackdown. This comes after dozens were arrested in January during Border Patrol's Operation Return to Sender, where agents rounded up people determined to have entered who were determined to have entered the country illegally. Yeah. Yesterday, California District Judge Jennifer Thurston demanded CBP agents cannot arrest suspected illegal migrants without a warrant or reason to believe the person is a flight risk.
Okay. Yeah. Without a warrant. I mean, what does that even mean? So if a police officer sees a bank robber, run out of the bank, they can't stop them unless they have a warrant for that bank robber. That's insane. I was talking on the last couple podcast episodes that what these judges are, they're radical revolutionaries who are on the bench for one reason and one reason only. and that is to bring down the fall of the United States of America. They are anarchists who are trying to cause the fall of the United States. There's no other explanation for it. To require warrants for illegals jumping the border by ICE, that's just stupid. That's insanity. Or that they're a flight. Of course they're a flight risk. They have no residence. They have no documents. They're on the run in the best case scenario, right? I hope that they ignore these judges. These judges are so far outside the scope of their rights and their authority. Now, Pete Hegseth, who's doing a wonderful job, and they really hate him. They want him out. Did you guys see this thing with John Bolton on CNN? He said something about Pete Hegseth that, well, let me just play it, then we'll talk about it.
Do you believe Hegseth should still be on the job?
No, I think he should resign for his own safety's sake, if nothing else. This is
for his own safety's sake. What does that mean? What is that a threat? Do you guys think that sounds like a threat? Is that is that him saying something out loud on CNN that they've talked about off the air with his friend? What does John Bolton mean by that? Should he be hauled in for questioning? I say yes, he should be hauled in for questioning. That's crazy. John Bolton is a nut. Now, remember when George W. Bush had him around, he didn't seem so bad then. But he is out of control and a complete lunatic. And what he said there would get a regular person picked up off the street and brought in for questioning. Because that did sound like a threat from John Bolton to me on a cabinet secretary. Pretty scary stuff, isn't it? Now, if you're new to the program, make sure you follow and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to me on. And remember, the Brian Craig Show podcast is on all podcast platforms. Okay, we're on all podcast platforms. And I do also upload the program to YouTube. And when I upload the program on my YouTube channel, I debut it as a live premiere, which means there's a live chat, that you can participate in when the show debuts. And usually, in some instances, I'll do it at different times, but most of the time, I'll make the show live on YouTube at 7 p.m. Eastern time, and you can catch the show then. And the chat's pretty busy and active, and a lot of people that are there on the morning show are there, but there's a lot of people that aren't there in the mornings that you can have conversations with. But the Brian Craig Show podcast, which you're listening to now, is available, of course, on my YouTube channel, Brian Craig Show on YouTube, and every podcast platform there is, no matter what. So make sure that you check it out. And there's this episode, actually, of the podcast. This is the 1,847th episode of the Brian Craig Show podcast. 1,847th episode of the Brian Craig Show podcast is this episode. So you can do a lot of binge listening as you're driving around. I want to take a moment to thank our Patreon supporters. And if you would like to support my content, all of it, that I bring to you, become a Patreon supporter. It's a great way to support my content. It helps me out a lot. You Patreon supporters who made it possible for me to be able to build my home radio studio so I don't have to drive to the radio station every day. And that's because of you guys. And it's greatly appreciated. And Patreon supporters, you have access to commercial-free editions of all of the podcast episodes. I post them on the Patreon page. There's a link to my Patreon page in the description of this and every episode. And our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you shout-out on every episode. So the names you will hear now are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, ETW, Chuck, Pamela, Nick, Wesley, Heather, David, Maria in Texas, Alice, LeeZep, Shawna, George, Brandon, Rob and Trish Wilkerson, John S., Frank, Dale, David, Laura, Rob, and SF Jr. Those are our top Patreon supporters. Thank you so much. And, since most of the time I've been doing the radio show from my home studio, and sometimes I have to go to the radio station for different things. And I had to go there yesterday, and the show's a whole different show. I can't believe I was driving that far for as long as I was. The show is much better when I'm using my home studio. It takes me 90 minutes. I didn't realize it took me so long. I timed it yesterday. It takes me 90 minutes to get to the radio station in the morning. So I'm 90 minutes of driving before I go on the air. So that's why I got to get up at 1:30 in the morning on those days. And when I get to stay at home, I can sleep until 2:30. And I could probably sleep in a little bit more, but I just can't get myself to. And then the way home, because there's a lot of traffic then, because it's right after 9 o'clock, is 2.5 hours. And to spend 3-4 hours on the road every day before 11 a.m., it really does take a physical toll on me. And I've noticed, me personally, that the show is much better when I'm at my home studio than at the radio station. It's I don't know how I was doing that for so long. I was talking to Kathy about this last night, and that's why I was able to cut back my caffeine intake, my coffee intake. I've cut down in half, part because I lost all this weight that over 35 pounds I've lost. But it's because I don't need the extra pick-me-up because of that driving that I had. And Kathy told me that she was so afraid that I was on my way to a heart attack. And yesterday, I was just, when I got home after being on the road like 3-4 hours, I was so exhausted yesterday. Doing a radio show is exhausting. When a 3-hour live stream that I do every morning, it's 3 hours of being on and it's high energy. It's exhausting. And you add another 3 hours, sometimes even more, of driving. And I was just like so tired yesterday. And even this morning, it took me a while to wake up. It takes a toll. So I'm glad I'm able to do everything from home. And that's because you Patreon supporters allowed me the opportunity to get the equipment I needed to do that. So thank you to all of you. All right. I'm Brian Craig. We're going to take our last break and be right back. Don't go anywhere.
My name is Dr. Philip Appleton. I'm a chiropractic physician. Over the years, I've treated thousands and thousands of patients from bursitis, tendinitis, sciatica, stenosis, neuropathy, tears, post-surgery, pre-surgery, herniated disc, gout, bone on bone. If you can name the pain, most likely I've treated over the years. Most of my practice is laser with robotic lasers. They're robots which rotates constantly around the area, where most lasers do not do that. So if you want to come in for a free consultation, as always here, welcome at Appleton Chiropractic. I'm here 6 days a week. I personally do all the treatment. You can bring your MRIs, you can bring your x-rays, you can bring your CAT scans, whatever you have to bring for me to look at, I would do that free of charge.
Call Dr. Appleton right now for that free consultation. 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. And online, AppletonChiro.com. When life gets busy, it's the little moments that mean the most. Bring Christmas, magic, imagination, and your family together with Elfmon, the app made for busy parents and their creative kids. Designed by working parents, Elfmon helps you carve out precious moments, even on your busiest days. Create a personal intro video where your child's very own elf shares a magical message, complete with your family's photos and artwork. You'll watch your child's eyes light up as they see themselves on television while their elf reads "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" and invites them through a magical portal to play and learn. With the Elfmon Easy Task and Reward tool, your elf helps children focus during the day, cheering them on and rewarding them with stories, AR games, and virtual adventures. Elfmon isn't just about Christmas magic, it's about building moments of joy and connection each and every day. Elfmon is Kids Safe certified and available right now in the Apple app and Google Play Store. Learn more at elfmon.com. That's ELFMONN. Start making the magic of Christmas a part of every day with Elfmon in the Apple app and Google Play Store. If you're a homeowner or with a homeowners association and your roof is old or compromised, you need to call Tom Laporta at Laporta Roofing. Laporta Roofing has been in the roofing and construction business since 1984, with thousands of roof installations and thousands of satisfied customers. Did you know that in the state of Florida, you can open a roofing company and borrow someone else's license? Tom Laporta is the holder of his roofing and general contractor's licenses, not like the other companies that borrow other people's licenses. So be sure who you're dealing with. Tom Laporta and his team are honest, knowledgeable, and reliable, and he'll never sell you a roof you don't need. Laporta Roofing carries all insurance, including workers' compensation on all of its employees, not just a waiver like other contractors. Laporta Roofing can handle any type of roofing job too. Residential roofing, HOAs, condominiums, and churches. If it's roofing, Laporta Roofing can do it. So call Tom Laporta on his cell phone, 954-604-4602, or connect online at laportaroofing.com. That number again is 954-604-4602. Laporta Roofing, the go-to roofing company you can trust.
You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian, and thanks for tuning in. I'm not going to go through the whole story, but Tim Walz, he's out there talking all the time to the public because he guess he thinks he's going to be somebody. Tim Walz said that Kamala Harris picked him to be her running mate so that he could code talk to white guys. What a terrible racist stereotype Kamala Harris and the Democrats have towards white men, that they think they got to bring in a white guy to speak in a way that we can understand and relate to. That, wow. I mean, and Tim Walz is one of the worst examples of white men in America. I mean, isn't he? Everything about this guy, but it really, could you imagine if President Trump had picked Byron Donalds as an example to be the vice president instead of JD, and then he does an interview and says, "Well, President Trump brought me in so I could speak code to the black men." People would say that's so racist. Yeah, because it is. And when Walz says that, it just shows you how out of touch with reality Democrats are. And the Democrats really have become a hate group of anti-whiteness, haven't they? Now, Bobby Kennedy Jr., he was speaking, and I think he's the first high-ranking government official to say this ever. But he acknowledged the chemtrails are dropping all kinds of poisons into the air that are landing on all of us. I was amazed. I've heard about chemtrails since I was a little kid. Everybody always talks about the chemtrails. And, it's something I've always kind of tuned out. And I think the reason I tuned it out is, well, first off, what are you going to do about it? They're up there. Who's going to do it? And it's one of those things, if it's true, do you really want to know about it since you can't do anything? And he acknowledged that the chemtrails is not just some crazy conspiracy theory. It's true. And he knows now because he has access to all the government information. So whatever beliefs he had about them, he went and checked it out and found out that what he believed about chemtrails was true. And he talked about it. That's amazing. And he said that they're taking some actions to see if they can stop it from happening. Isn't that something? Would that blow? I know a lot of people out there say, well, I've always known that chemtrails were real. Most people don't believe that chemtrails are real. And if they come out, like Bobby Kennedy did in this interview, they come out with definitive proof that, I don't know, when would the chemtrails have started? The early 60s, late 50s, early 60s, when the commercial jets started and everything. What a revelation that would be if there was a confirmation that we've been poisoned by chemtrails our whole lives, and even the lives of our parents and even grandparents. I thought that was pretty amazing. Robert Kennedy is a good guy. We're lucky that President Trump picked him, and that's something. Okay, now this is someone who was interviewed who did not vote for the president. Listen.
I think he's amazing.
Neighbors Catherine Desatel and Ron Dundor now bond over their shared love for Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Ron didn't vote for him in the last election, but now he wishes he had.
Wow.
I've been very pleasantly surprised with what he's doing for the country. I think he's got a really good cabinet in there this time.
Being from California and Arizona, I dealt with the immigration crisis and saw how it affected our daily lives. I believe he's a man of his word.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that because I had given up on politics.
I can understand that, but this guy, and by the way, that's CBS's morning show. So that CBS News reported that, right? They do not like Republicans, especially Trump, but they still reported that. And, I'm so glad they did. And I'm so glad it was CBS because like if it's Fox or Breitbart or something, the liberals tune it out. But when you can point to something that's from one of their liberal sources, they just go, oh, well, that's Fox News. We don't listen to them. When it's one of their own people reporting it, it's hard for them to attack the messenger. But that's such a good interview because even though it's brief, because the left and the fake news media, which CBS is a part of, I guess they don't mind the conflict with their false narrative they're trying to get going, is that MAGA voters regret their vote. This is a big thing they've been trying to push. They've been filling Republican town halls with fake MAGA liberals wearing MAGA hats, and they've been trying to get this narrative going that Trump voters wish they didn't vote for him, which we know is not true. Come on. And then we get this guy who didn't vote for the president but wishes he had. Well, maybe you'll get another chance when Trump runs for re-election in 2028, right? You never know. You never know. But that's people see what's going on. And what's happened is President Trump has been exposing so much that's been going on, everything that Doge has exposed. I don't think people were aware of how out of balance all the tariffs were, that these countries had these massive tariffs on us, and our tariffs were very low. I don't think most people knew about that. You and I know about it because we follow the politics so much, but most people don't. And they're finding out all these things and they're pissed. People and, Americans are hardworking people. And when they see that they've been using the national treasury as a piggy bank and have just been stealing and really openly stealing forever billions of dollars. And then when they get caught, they get angry. How dare you stop us from stealing? That really pisses off hardworking Americans. So many people have been red-pilled in this first 100 days with the great work that President Trump is doing. Now, Tucker Carlson, he was on with Megyn Kelly talking about the new Jim Crow. And listen to this. He's so right about this, Tucker Carlson.
So you don't see him as the Dems' great white hope from California for 2028?
He's pretty white. I mean, it's the anti-white party. Like, they hate white people. They've been systematically disenfranchising white people from the country they were born in. They say that out loud. That's what diversity is. It's everybody but white men. So I'm not whining about it. I'm just noticing that. Much more comprehensive than Jim Crow ever was. And so for the party that did that set up this Jim Crow system, anti-white system, to nominate another white guy, I mean, maybe.
They're talking about Newsom, of course.
But I think they'd be much happier with AOC. I don't take her that seriously.
Yeah, I mean, he's right. I mean, the Democrats, they were the party of Jim Crow, and in so many ways, they are, again, right, just against white people. It's really a sad thing because, in this country, we had almost totally eradicated anti-Semitism and racism. There's always going to be people that are that way, but they were fringe people, very few of them. And, this is mostly Obama's doing, and it's back. Racism, discrimination, hate, anti-Semitism, it's back as big as it's ever been. And it's really sad that that's happened, isn't it? It really, truly is. And, President Trump at the Michigan rally last night, that was a great rally, wasn't it? It was a great rally. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And the biggest takeaway when he brought out, he said the release of the illegals is down 99.99% in his first 100 days. 99.99%. Isn't that something? I mean, that is almost 100%, right? I mean, that means he has completely almost stopped it. Who would have thought it was even possible to shut it down so quickly? And I'm looking forward to the wall being completed. They're working very hard and fast on the wall, and we're just going to wake up one day. There's going to be a story there that it's done, and Trump's going to fly down there for some type of ceremony because the Great Wall of Trump, it will have been completed, and that's going to be a great day. You know, this idea that this country's borders should be completely open for anyone to come here, especially these really bad people that Trump's deporting. I mean, it's so absurd. I can't even believe we talk about it, right? That there's people on the other side, and like these judges and Democrats that are trying to stop Donald Trump from getting violent people out of this country that aren't even supposed to be here, that are here illegally, that are murdering and raping and committing all kinds of other offenses against Americans, and also immigrants that are here legally. It doesn't make any sense, does it? But hey, if they made sense, they wouldn't be Democrats. My name's Brian Craig. This